What's going on, everybody? This is Kayambe, and these are my 7 tools for maintaining and improving your mental health. Now, as somebody who has struggled with mental health for most of my life, um, I kind of developed several tools to solve my depression and anxiety, which is something that I actually was diagnosed for and prescribed medications for. However, I found that the medications didn't really do it for me, and it made me feel very flat. If you've been on antidepressants before, you might know what I'm talking about, but the way it affected me was that I didn't really feel any highs and I really didn't feel any lows, and that wasn't going to work for me. So I kind of developed tools in order to improve my mental health more organically and more tailored to my own needs. And I'm here to share it with you guys. Maybe it'll help. My first tool out of the 7, and keep in mind that these are just 7 that I feel were the ones to get me started. The first one being exercising discipline. And it sounds worse than it is. I think a lot of people try to go ahead and bite off more than they can chew. And here's how you start the sustainable way, I guess you could say. The first being, and it sounds trivial, but making your bed. Believe it or not, it's like a snowball effect where it's like a small step and then it kind of leads into other ones. So if you get up every morning and you make your bed, that kind of does, well, a couple of things. The first thing would be building confidence. It kind of, believe it or not, builds up your sense of self. The other thing that it does for you is kind of builds a routine and gets you to, get used to being disciplined in a small way that takes only 5 minutes. It's not a huge commitment, and it helps you build that confidence in yourself and, that sense of responsibility. The other thing you can do is, for example, after you're done that, maybe wake up a little bit earlier, maybe like 10 minutes earlier, 15 minutes early, and do something for you, whether it's going for a walk, maybe reading a book, having breakfast, whatever. And then if you want to build on top of that, maybe you will start showing up to work more on time, maybe paying your bills more on time. So it's very flexible and you can kind of start wherever you feel comfortable and build from there. It's a great way to start. The next one is going to be building off of the discipline portion. And I didn't want to start with this one because I feel like it would deter a lot of people. But if you try this, it makes this second tool much easier to implement. And that would be good diet and exercise. Once you're comfortable with the discipline action of it and you're more used to it and you're ready to go a little further, then diet and exercise are pretty important. And let me explain why before you shut me down. First reason being you are essentially what you eat. And I know that sounds super cliche, but it is true. You are very much the quality of the food you eat. And not only biologically, but the chemistry in your brain also, feeds off of the food you consume. Higher quality food, higher quality thoughts. Low quality food, low quality thoughts. And it's really as simple as that, aside from all the other benefits you get from just having a good diet. And, do whatever works for you. But to be on top of your food and kind of curving that is something that I felt was a huge thing. I was eating ice cream every day. So for me, it wasn't the healthiest situation to be in. And I noticed and I did notice a huge improvement once I started kind of changing that. And as for the exercise portion, everybody's a little bit different. It can range from as simple things as taking a walk to doing push-ups to actually going to the gym. And don't feel like you have to go to the gym. That's not really for everybody. It's not for me personally. I like to play sports to keep in shape, but really do anything that kind of makes you, that you feel is sustainable for you. And I think that's the kind of importance that a lot of people don't realize, and they think they have to go to this huge commitment. You don't. It's just you have to do something for yourself. The third tool, and this one's a little bit harder to implement, which is why I put these 2 first. And the first 2 tools will definitely help you into going into the third. So you're kind of seeing a trend here, I hope. But one of the things that I really did, and it was a major, major key to me, was implementing balance. Like making sure that I had balance in my life. And it's hard for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't even think of this. But when you achieve balance in your life, you can kind of attack your problems from multiple different angles, and you'll be in a good standpoint to do so. And what that really means is, for example, if I work hard, I play, maybe not hard, but I do things to make myself feel good if I work hard. If I am eating something bad for me, I'll try to eat something good, and if I'm trying to learn something, I'll also want to do something to give me that dopamine hit, like play video games or, whatever else. But I think balance is something that is super underrated, not really talked about. I think balance kind of allowed me to stay pretty stable emotionally. We're talking about mental health here. So emotionally, I felt pretty stable if I was implementing tools and things in my life that kept me centered and balanced. And I think if you keep yourself centered, you keep your emotions in regulation, you try to really just find a sense of self and maintain that, the possibilities are endless. You can really do so much. And, from problem solving to what you consume, it is just an overall good way to maintain what you've already achieved from the first few steps this far. So, balance. The fourth tool I learned, and it is one of the harder ones, and if you notice as we go down this list, they're getting more and more advanced, but they are worth using. They are worth it in my mind because this is what changed my life. So, the fourth tool would be to think kindly of yourself. And a lot of people have a lot of trouble with this. I was super bad with it because, we've all spoken to ourselves like, oh, I'm so stupid because I made a mistake. I'm so stupid. And that is a very contagious or toxic mindset to have. And I was so riddled with it. And I was riddled with it for so long that I didn't even realize how poorly I was talking to myself. And this goes a long way because that internal conversation that you have with yourself kind of dictates what happens outside of yourself. As within, so without. So if you're rude and mean to yourself on the inside, chances are you're not going to be able to treat anybody else differently. But if you're kind and, nurturing, you're much more equipped to be that way towards other people. And I think that is something that has improved a lot of things in my life, not just, my own mental health, but the quality of life for myself and people around me. And I think it's super major, and it is a big source of fuel to make yourself feel good and help others feel good about themselves too. And it keeps you positive. It keeps you in a mental space where you can almost handle anything that comes your way. So as you can see, we're building on top of these first few principles. Number 5, and that is kind of, again, building off the last one, and it's forgiving yourself. If you can forgive yourself, you are much less afraid to make mistakes. And that was something I very much was afraid to do. I never wanted to make the wrong decision. But I think one of the things that you can do to dispel those concerns are to instill a good decision-making process. So the way I do it is, if I feel like I am up against a huge decision, I try to get all the information I can surrounding the decision with the time that I have, and look at all the information that I receive, all the data, whatever it may be. And I build this process, and you can build one for yourself if you like this tip, of course, take it and run with it. But the process that I kind of use is to make sure that I look at all the information, I look for flaws in it, and I try to weigh out all my options. And then when I'm finally ready to make a decision, I can make that decision without feeling bad about it, because when I look back on my decisions, I'll be able to say, hey, I had the information that I had at the time, I gave it a good think. Maybe if you want to run it by some people, if that's your thing, and I made a decision and I accepted whatever came with it. So if it doesn't work out, you really did the best you could, and you feel like you did the best you could, but them's the breaks. You know what I mean? It's not gonna eat at you the way it would if you were to just haphazardly make a decision and, you just were careless and got burned. there's a huge difference between making a mistake like that and, not doing your due diligence and paying the price. By the same token, when you make a good decision, that will reinforce your formula and help you refine your formula to make more decisions in that positive outlook. So, or positive result. So, it really does help to have this kind of decision making process in place, and it makes it so much easier for you to forgive yourself when things don't go your way. Number six, and I would say this is probably the toughest on the list. And of course, it feeds into the rest. I probably said that for the sixth time now, but it's true. These all do really work together. And the sixth, and probably the most important and the most difficult that I would say, uh, is focusing on the here and now, the moment you have in front of you. And I'm guilty of all these things. I was super bad about all these things. And this is how I came to this list. I had to kind of correct all these things, and it took me time to do it. But I feel like if I had this list given to me, I would have been much faster to the punch. And it is the most difficult. Why? Because most of us, if not all of us at some point, are dreading what we did in the past. We look back and we're like, oh, that was so cringe the way I asked this person out on a date, or I wish I would have prepared for a situation better, or I wish I would have went left when I could have gone right, or I wish I wasn't so scared to take that leap of faith. It's easy to do that, and it's very hard to break out of it. Why? Because, we all have done something stupid. The other thing that a lot of people focus on is the future. They worry about the future. And how many times have you had this idea waking up first thing in the morning? You're like, oh, my day is going to suck. I don't want to go to work. My boss is going to be a dick. I may be overwhelmed, whatever the case may be. You end up going through your day, and it turns out it wasn't that bad. Or, maybe you're going in for an interview. You have all these thoughts and stressors in your head, and you end up going to the interview and nailing it and getting the job. You really never know what the future is going to hold. So, that being said, why stress about it? Why account for variables that are without your input and out of your control when, you don't really know what to expect? And I think a lot of people are afraid of what they don't know to expect, and it hurts their moment, the moment they have in front of them. And that is really the point. If you're thinking or contemplating about the past, that takes away from the now, the moment you have in front of you. And how do you change your future? By utilizing the moment in front of you to change that. So if you're stuck in the past, it hurts your present and it will also hurt your future. So you're doing a trifecta of damage. And that's what I did all the time. And this was one of the last things I learned. But when I did, it allowed me to change so many things and take a lot more control, and I had a lot more say in what I was able to do to make sure I reached my goals. So focusing on the now may be the hardest thing to do. It may be one of those things you have to repeat in your head and kind of regulate yourself and make sure you're on track. But if you're able to work this in your favor and, kind of implement that thought, you'll be surprised what you can accomplish. The last tool that I think is pretty paramount is reflecting and improving. So this kind of tops the other six tools because now you're in a place where you can actually implement it. And what I realized was the game changer for me was reflecting on my actions, reflecting on my thoughts, looking at them, asking questions like, what is the motivation for this? Why did I feel this way when someone mentioned it to me? Why did I react this way when I heard this? Those things, to get to the root, you got to ask questions and you got to be able to assess your actions, your thoughts, look at them, get to the root cause, get to the cause, and make changes and really digest your maybe impulses or maybe your train of thought. Maybe you're a negative person. Maybe and I was all those things before these tools. So don't ever feel ashamed. It is a work in progress, and everybody should be a work in progress. That's probably never going to stop. But if you're able to reflect and improve, you can make better decisions going forward, and you can understand decisions that you made in the past that may not have worked out so well. And one bonus for you guys: content consumption. What you consume, what you watch, what you hear, those things create an ecosystem in your head that really do play into who you are and the way you handle your day to day. Let me give you an example. Me personally, what I like to do is I like to mix up my content. So, for example, I will watch urban legends and ghost stories, for fun. And then after that, I'll go ahead and watch some things going on in maybe politics in my country, the United States. Or maybe I will watch anime, or maybe I'll learn something regarding stream or YouTube. So balancing your content makes sure you are kind of keeping your brain balanced in a good mental space. Now, the opposite can be true if you're somebody who watches true crime all the time and only true crime. What does that really entail? It's essentially someone's misfortune, and it typically is in a negative context. There really is no positive true crime content to consume. So if that is something that is all you consume, then naturally you're going to have negative, more morbid thoughts. And as we said earlier, you are what you consume. Low quality content and consumption equal low quality thoughts. Same vice versa. High quality content and consumption leads to high quality thoughts. And it really doesn't get much more simple than that. So those were my 7 tools for improving and maintaining mental health. If you like this, go ahead and let me know. Give me a comment, give me a like. If you didn't, dislike it. Let me know. It changed my life, I promise. And hopefully if you are looking to do the same, these tools will help you out. But other than that, my name's Kayambe. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Be well.